Get ready, because today I'm rebooting my villain arc. We're going to talk about the mess that is Superman, and specifically we're going to discuss 3 writing-related issues that killed the middle of this movie. We'll look at what they are, how they held the movie back, and why you don't want these problems creeping into your own stories. Before we go any further, keep in mind there will be heavy spoilers ahead. Now, the movie is called Superman, and the theatrical poster highlights him and him alone, so you might think this would be, a Superman movie. But unfortunately, he's only the star for about 20 minutes before getting shoved aside for the other 17,341 characters they want to establish. Then at the end, they power him up again to trick you into thinking that you did just watch a Superman film. And that brings us to our first problem, the lack of focus, specifically the fact that the spotlight is stolen from both him and Lois Lane. Early on, the movie presents him as someone who can fail and be beaten up, and it's a compelling intro because it raises the question, how can this all-powerful man become stronger? Shortly after, the movie also shows that he's motivated by his parents' wish for him to be heroic. And so far, so good. We establish the character, signal ways he can improve, and also express his motivation. Later, we see him as Clark Kent. He's writing stories about himself at the Daily Planet, he's been dating Lois for 3 months, she's covering up the fact that he's Superman, and there's some tension in their budding relationship. That all seems like the beginning of a pretty decent romantic subplot. Then you have Lex Luthor trying to destroy Superman, and Lex serves as an imposing villain, at least until the script turns him into Kylo Ren during the second half. But still, the ingredients for a good Superman story are here. We can work with this. But that's when it stops being a Superman story. Rather than focusing on the core of Superman, Lois, and Lex, the spotlight shifts elsewhere. We meet the Justice Gang, which consists of Green Lantern, who's good for some laughs, Mr. Terrific, who's the best character in the movie, and Hawk Girl, who's a girl who resembles a hawk. Later, we meet a shapeshifter named Metamorpho, who takes over the movie for several scenes, and you can't forget about Jimmy Olsen, who does more investigative work than Lois does, and you definitely can't forget about Krypto the dog, who is everywhere in this movie. So, you know how certain Spider-Man and Batman movies screwed up by including way too many villains and not giving the plot enough room to breathe? Here it's the opposite. Here you have too many heroes soaking up screen time, and it prevents Superman and Lois from impacting the story in meaningful, memorable ways. When I left the theater, I challenged myself to think of anything worthwhile that Superman does during the middle chunk of the story, but basically he just sits around in prison while other characters solve his problems for him. Which brings us to the second major issue, and it's that Superman is too passive. We like protagonists who are active, ones who take action, make choices, pursue goals, and solve their own problems. Even when the villain is driving the plot and gaining power, we still want our hero taking small steps toward overcoming obstacles. Our hero might not even be addressing the main plot, but they still need to take action on some scale. Now, the prison sequence is the movie's biggest failure in this regard. The setup for this is that Lex Luthor breaks into the Fortress of Solitude, captures Krypto, and discovers a recording from Superman's birth parents in which they explicitly tell him to conquer the Earth like he's the next Genghis Khan. When word gets out about this, the public turns on Superman, and he eventually surrenders to Lex in order to rescue his captured dog. Lex then imprisons Superman, along with an inmate named Metamorpho, who can transform himself into any substance, including kryptonite. Lex blackmails the guy by threatening to harm his infant son, and Metamorpho produces kryptonite to torture Superman. From there, Lex interrogates our hero, who refuses to reveal anything about his family. That's when Lex raises the stakes by murdering a civilian right in front of him. It's the most chilling and impactful part of the entire movie, and I expected the story to really take off from this point. I thought this would push Superman to his limits, force him to reflect on his choices, and ultimately compel him to escape by outsmarting Lex. But instead, the script gives him an easy out. Rather than exploring his guilt, the script explores Metamorpho's guilt. The creature feels so bad about the dead civilian that he transforms into a yellow sun to revitalize Superman. There are no consequences for doing this, and it enables them to break out of their cell, rescue the baby, rescue the dog, and escape the prison with some help from Lois and Mr. Terrific. Now, what I didn't mention yet is that Lois and Mr. Terrific were able to locate this prison thanks to some terrible writing. Instead of respecting the character of Lois Lane and having her use her smarts to figure out where the prison is, the script solves the problem for her in the most mind-numbing way possible. You see, somehow her coworker Jimmy Olsen is having an affair with Lex's girlfriend. Though it's great to see Jimmy punching above his weight class, this is ridiculously convenient from a plot standpoint. Worse yet, this goofy affair bails out the heroes on another occasion later in the story, and it lets Lois's investigative skills go to waste. Instead of her and Superman using their strengths to take action, they get sidelined while the actual side characters push this broken plot forward. And this leads us to our third and final problem: the way the script undermines Lex Luthor. Now, remember, a hero is only as impressive as the villain they defeat. As I mentioned, in the first half of the movie, Lex is great. He's driven, he's ruthless, he's cunning, he's a worthy opponent for someone as powerful and wholesome as Superman. But then, in the second half, Lex goes into full-on meltdown mode. Soon as things stop going his way, he freaks out, makes terrible decisions, and completely unravels. And it doesn't ring true because this guy is a leader, he's a genius, and he's persistent enough to build the most powerful corporation on the planet. Though he has his flaws, ideally you want a scenario where Superman and Lois have to work hard to expose those flaws and topple their greatest enemy. Instead, Lex repeatedly self-destructs down the stretch because the script doesn't have enough time to wrap up the main conflict in a compelling way. Worse yet, when he and Superman have their final confrontation, Lex inexplicably confesses that he's jealous of Superman, and he does so in front of his entire staff in the control center. So not only does the villain go to waste in this movie, but he also embarrasses himself and makes it impossible for us to take him seriously in future installments. I mean, think about it this way. Would you be more hyped for a sequel that features the return of Crybaby Luthor? Or would you be more hyped about the return of a cold, calculating Luthor who was just barely defeated in the final confrontation? I get that the movie is lighthearted in tone, but that's even more reason for the story to take its villain seriously. We need contrast. We need meaningful stakes. What we don't need is someone crying, screaming, and acting like a Scooby-Doo criminal who just got caught. For story events to matter, we need a more serious villain than this. And for the story as a whole to matter, we need heroes who embrace the spotlight and actively solve their own problems. So I hope this helps. Question of the day: what did you think of the new Superman movie? Did you love it, hate it, have mixed feelings toward it? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you want to support the channel, definitely check out my new book, Story Made Simple. It comes out at the end of the month, and it covers the 8 key elements of storytelling. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can pre-order your copy today.